What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Master Premier Cup submitted to the channel by FlyGonnaGetYou, who, if you didn't know, did about 95% of the work in putting together my new Discord server, creating all the channels, assigning roles and whatnot, so I very much appreciate all of that. And if you do want to join the Discord, there is a link in the description of this video and every video that I upload, as well as in the pinned comment for this video. But anyways, back to the video. He's running an anti-meta team with Shadow Salamence in the lead, Goldengo as the safe swap, and Magnezone as the closer. Now do note, Magnezone isn't actually a shadow, but apparently I've not made a graphic for that and I need to record this video ASAP, so we're just going to go with the shadow graphic. Also, I want to say a massive thank you for the support in yesterday's video titled Cows. I forgot to make it private when I was uploading it, and I obviously hadn't given it a proper title yet, but of course it went live to my channel members who requested that I did not change the title of the video, and it turns out that was the right decision, as it's now my best performing video out of my 10 most recent uploads, and it has about 160 comments. Also, one final reminder, today is the final day that you can submit towards this week's subscriber challenge, so if you have been attempting it, please get your submission in ASAP. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. For those of you that haven't played any Master Premier Cup this season, would you have played it if it wasn't alongside the Open Great League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle, leading Shadow Salamence into Metagross. So we're not on Fire Fang, we're going to have to swap out of this matchup, and we do swap into Goldengo, which is a hard answer to their lead Pokemon, but also it is the safe swap in case the opponent has something like a Rhyperior in the back. Magnezone gets absolutely shut down, but the opponent clearly does not have a good answer as they come in with a Charm Primarina. We overfarm, we fire off the next Shadow Ball on the CMP die. Shadow Ball grabs a shield from the opponent. So at this point we're probably going to match shields and then just commit to a huge Hex farm down up against this Primarina. They do get us below half health, but it doesn't matter. We've got so much loaded energy, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Gyarados. So we go for one Hex, fire off the Shadow Ball. We're now going to bank another Shadow Ball, swap back into our Salamence, realizing it's kind of dead weight. We've also got Magnezone in the back anyways. We're now going for the Fly. Fly does respectable resisted damage there, and it forces the opponent to throw their charge move. At this point, we're happy to let Salamence go down. Meteor Mash takes us out. They come in, we come in with the Magnezone, and this is clearly not an Earthquake. Meteor Mash is double resisted. Usually up against most things, even a resisted Meteor Mash does a lot of damage, but up against Magnezone, that does pathetic damage, and so the opponent just concedes the match. But into the next battle, speaking of core breakers, we're actually seeing a core breaker on the opponent's team, as they've got Astonished Goldengo, which is a lot worse for ours because, of course, they're going to deal a lot more fast move pressure, but if we can grab shields from the opponent, it's not going to be too bad for us. The opponent fires off the Shadow Ball. We swap into our own Goldengo here. You can see they are doing a lot more damage, and they also come in with Galissapod, so not ideal for us, but we've got a huge energy advantage. Shadow Ball does big damage. The opponent is going to throw just before we reach a second Shadow Ball, so good timing on the opponent's end, but they go for an Aerial Ace. Why on earth are they doing that? They must be on, like, Liquidation. Otherwise, I don't have a reason for them to go for Aerial Ace there. It doesn't make any sense. They come back in with the Goldengo here. We can come in with the Salamence. We're actually going to shield this up here, as the opponent does go for a second Shadow Ball, and the opponent swaps into their final Pokemon, a Goodra, but unfortunately, we are down a shield. Magnezone, whilst we are resisting the Dragon Breath damage, Aqua Tail gonna hit for neutral damage here, and we kind of need to go for a Mirror Shot straight away to potentially debuff their attack. Mirror Shot does not get a debuff, and you can see that does not much damage at all. Hopefully we do get the debuff this time around. Mirror Shot number 2, also no debuff there, and Mirror Shot, especially on the non-Shadow Magnezone, is such an underwhelming move, even when it's super effective, but we do reach a third Mirror Shot, just barely. Mirror Shot number 3, grabs a shield this time around, still no debuff. We come in with the Salamence, they Dragon Breath, farm us down, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we see a Dragonite in the lead, so we're going to stay in for one Dragon Tail, then swap into our Goldengo. Of course, Goldengo does wall the moveset of Dragonite. We are going to see the opponent comes in with a Gyarados, so Shadow Ball is going to be shielded by the opponent, and the opponent does reach a charge move. At this point, we're going to shield this up here. We can now outpace him comfortably to the next charge move. We're going to overfarm by 2 hexes here. Fire off Shadow Ball number 2. Shadow Ball is going to be shielded once again by the opponent, and we can actually swap, catch the charge move onto our Salamence, banking the Shadow Ball. Really nice play there. Aqua Tail, of course, is resisted damage. They can now come in with a Metagross, and they can commit to a huge farm down, but not before we reach an Outrage. And whilst Outrage is resisted damage, it does big damage, and it puts them into farm down range once again. At this point, the opponent blind throws, and we are going to call that they are just baiting. It's another Meteor Mash. It doesn't do much damage at all, and again, just going to be another Meteor Mash. So Magnezone very easily tanking that. We are now going to see the opponent comes back in with the Dragonite. That's okay with us. We can shield up the charge move as the opponent fires off a Dragon Claw, and remember, we banked a Dazzling Gleam on the Goldengo. Dazzling Gleam doesn't quite get the KO there, but they come back in with the Gyarados. They can snipe us with an Aqua Tail, but either way, doesn't really matter. We can come back in with the Magnezone, go for 2 Volt Switches, fire off the Wild Charge here, and we will have a Mirror Shot loaded for when they come back in with the Dragonite. We fire it off straight away, and of course, from this range, even a bad move like Mirror Shot gets the KO up against the Dragonite, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see Shadow Salamence into Golisopod. So this is a great matchup for us. Of course, the Arcjet, or if they are running Liquidation because they've got a lack of TMs, I don't know, then that's going to be resisted. Aerial Ace is unfortunately neutral. Exeter would also be resisted as well, just in case they were running that. But either way, we can go for the Fly here. Fly is going to be no shielded, and we do also maximize the overfarm there, throwing just before they reach that next charge move. They come in with a Magnezone. We're going to swap into a Goldengo. They full send the Wild Charge before swapping into Annihilate. So not too bad for us, actually. We can fire off a Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball is going to be shielded by the opponent, of course. At this point, we are down a shield, so we're going to no-shield the first move. It's going to do less damage, but actually, because they did chip with a few Volt Switches, that kind of puts us into counter farm down range, which is definitely not ideal. But Shadow Ball grabs the final shield. We swap into our Shadow Salamence, and we are actually going to shield here. I'm not so sure I agree with this, just because they can now swap out into the Magnezone. We are going to commit to the Outrage here, and Outrage is only single resisted. Outrage actually gets the KO there. That is outrageous damage despite being resisted, but unfortunately it's not looking too good for us. All the opponent has to do here is go for a close combat, but actually they go for the Rage Fist. Maybe they're on Ice Punch there. Either way, we're not going to complain. We are full sending Wild Charge. Wild Charge takes out Annihilate, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, not a great lead for us at all. We're going to say swap into Goldengo, and apparently this is the most common and strongest core for the Master Premier Cup in Florages, and of course Golisopod. Definitely not ideal for us, but we do have Magnezone, which breaks that core in the back. So let's see what we can do. We go for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball grabs a shield from the opponent, and we're also able to reach a second Shadow Ball before the opponent can go for a full farm down. Shadow Ball connects. It does big damage. Unfortunately, just barely missing out on farming them down as well, but we can come in with the Salamence. One Dragon Tail will take them out, and now we're swapping instantly into Magnezone, and we're met with an opposing Magnezone. So at this point, we kind of don't want to throw first because, of course, we're going to debuff ourselves if we go for Wild Charge, and Mirror Shot is double resisted. That really does not do much damage at all. We're also baiting with a Mirror Shot. I am not so sure about this at all. Again, no debuff there on either end. We're now going to overfarm as much as possible, farming up to 100 energy, firing off the Wild Charge. Wild Charge is no shielded, and that wasn't even a CMP tie either, so we can shield this here as the opponent fires off the Wild Charge. They farmed up to back-to-back, so we swap. We catch the move onto our Shadow Salamence. Wild Charge nearly takes us out. They do get the snipe with the Florages, but that's okay. We're now going to overfarm again, going for 1 Volt Switch, firing off the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot is going to grab the final shield. It still looks like we have not debuffed their attack here, which is very frustrating, but we go for another Mirror Shot there, finally dropping their attack before they throw, which is actually great news for us. We're going to no-shield. Trailblaze doesn't do much damage at all. We've still got a shield here, so we're going to shield the next charge move as they are boosted. They go for another Trailblaze. They swap out back into the Magnezone here. We are firing off the Mirror Shot, and then I believe one single Wild Charge should be enough damage to get the KO here from this range, but we're actually farming up to back-to-back Mirror Shots. But I think this is a misplay here, as Mirror Shot does not get the KO. We debuff their attack, but we are so low that on CMP here, Trailblaze takes us out despite being debuffed and non-stab. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. I do believe if we went for the Wild Charge there, it would have just got the KO. But either way, into next battle, we see a Magnezone in the lead. So we are going to stay in this matchup initially. Gonna wait for them to throw here, and we are going to shield, respect the damage, and they do full send the Wild Charge before swapping into a Rhyperior. So we're gonna farm up, throw on the TMP tie, actually bait with a Fly here, and Fly is actually no shielded by the opponent, so huge call on the opponent's end. Definitely not ideal for us. They go for Breaking Swipe, not quite enough damage to get the KO. We bank an Outrage, we swap into Goldengo, hoping to catch the next Breaking Swipe. Unfortunately, that does not work out for us, but we shield up the Rock Wrecker there. Wouldn't have done too much damage, but with the Mud Slaps, it would have got us very low. They come in with a Waterfall Gyarados, so because we shielded the Rock Wrecker there, we will actually be able to reach 2 Shadow Balls before they can farm us down. And actually, they throw on CMP, losing CMP. Shadow Ball number 2 is going to grab the final shield from the Gyarados, and they do throw their energy straight away as well. This one, Aqua Tail will be taking us out. We can come in with the Magnezone, hitting for huge damage in this matchup. They do reach another Aqua Tail, but we don't care. We can tank this very comfortably. And never mind, they actually go for a crunch there. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We can throw off the Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to do big damage. We snipe with the Salamence. We back the Outrage there, so we throw it straight away. Outrage gets the KO. They come back in with the Gyarados, and we can go straight for a Mirror Shot here. No messing around, not committing to a fast move farm down. Mirror Shot takes out the Gyarados, and we take that game. Into next battle, see Florges in the lead once again, so we are going to stay in this matchup initially, then swap out there as they do reach the energy for a charge move, and the opponent comes in with their own Goldengo. Again, going straight for the Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball should be grabbing a shield from the opponent, and if they try and commit to a full Astonish farm down, we will reach a second Shadow Ball, which is very nice. Shadow Ball number 2, definitely going to grab the final shield from the opponent. All shields are now down, and if it is Galissapod and Florges in the back, then Magnezone could be looking very nice here. But either way, we come in with the Salamence. We are going to double shield here. Expect the opponent to swap back into the Florges, but they actually don't swap out, so we're forced to now go for a Mirror Shot there. That is slightly unfortunate for us. We're going to go for the Mirror Shot, get the KO, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They actually do come back in with the Florges, so that is very interesting. They fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast does actually do quite a lot of damage there. We're going to farm up to back-to-back charge moves, go for another Mirror Shot here. Mirror Shot is going to be no shielded. Of course, all shields are down. What am I talking about? We go for another Mirror Shot though. A Mirror Shot will not be enough damage to take out this Magnezone. So we're, of course, all shields down on our end as well. Moonblast gets the KO, and they've got a Gyarados in the back. So we've got so much energy. We go straight for Outrage. We actually undercharge that, and that is the perfect undercharge, coming out with very close to a charge we've loaded. And now we can just go for the Fly. And of course, from this range, Fly easily takes out the Florges, and we're able to take that game. So go into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Salamence into Galissapod, so a great lead matchup for us. The opponent is choosing to stay in here, probably also running Aerial Ace, but it doesn't matter. We can still tank this very comfortably. And again, we are going to go for 3 Dragon Tails here before firing off a Fly, making sure we maximize the energy generation before taking out Galissapod. The opponent just no shields. They come in with a Charm Primarina, so we safe swap into our Goldengo, and we bait out a Rhyperior. So this is really good to bait out here, because otherwise we would be absolutely... well, we're going to be destroyed with our Magnezone up against Rhyperior. At this point, we still got 2 shields, so I don't mind shielding here and then going for a Shadow Ball just to guarantee some damage, or grab the final shield from the opponent. So Shadow Ball is going to be no shielded by the opponent. It does big damage. Hopefully, it puts them into Dragon Tail farm down range. However, we do have to be wary of a potential snipe from that Primarina, and the opponent does swap, and we actually swap out at the exact same time. They're predicting the swap. Very nice play. All shields are down on our end, but that's okay. Hydro Cannon is going to be coming through. We are now going to overfarm here, firing off the Wild Charge, making sure that the opponent will only get off 1 Mud Slap when they come back in with the Rhyperior. So we go for the Mirror Shot here. Mirror Shot should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. It does exactly that, and Shadow Salamence able to win CMP up against Rhyperior. Fly from this range takes out Rhyperior, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Salamence into a Skeledirge, so a good matchup for us, assuming they're not on Disarming Voice and instead are on Torch Song, but the opponent's going to swap out into Feraligatr, so even in the Master Premier Cup, you just can't escape the double croc double croc team here with the Skeledirge and the Feraligatr. We are strangely going to swap into our Goldengo here. I'm not so sure about that, but either way, we tank the Hydro Cannon. Can we tank another move? We are going to no-shield this, and we are just barely able to hang on and reach a Shadow Ball as well. So, honestly, not too bad for us there. Shadow Ball is going to be grabbing the final shot from the opponent. We do lose switch advantage, which is definitely not ideal with Magnezone up against the Skeledirge, but either way, we come back in with the Salamence. We are definitely going to respect the damage here. The opponent does full send the Ice Beam. We are now going to see the opponent comes in with our Florges. We're now going to overfarm, fire off a Fly just 1 turn before they do reach a potential charge move. We go for Fly there, and we're actually not going to swap out. Instead, we're going to no-shield this. and the opponent baits with a Trailblaze. Why on earth would you bait there? I don't understand that play at all, but either way, they come back in with the Skeledirge. We are going straight for the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge does big damage. It puts them into 1 Volt Switch farm down range, so we can just safely shield up the Torch Song, and we come out with a Mirror Shot loaded. So Mirror Shot, not going to do much damage here, but either way, it gets them into Volt Switch farm down range, and so the opponent tried to concede the match there, but are actually able to farm them down first, and we take that game. Now into the final battle of this video, once again leading into Florages, so not ideal for us, but we are going to swap out once again, swapping just before they do reach that first charge move, but this time they come in with Annihilate, and they have not chipped with any Volt Switch damage. Of course, we do resist the Fairy Wind damage, so this time we should a lot more comfortably be able to let the first move go through here, and still probably reach 2 more Shadow Balls before they can farm us down. So we go for 1 Hex, we fire off the Shadow Ball here, otherwise if we go for 3, we probably overfarm over 100 energy, and either way the opponent committing to the farm down and not getting there in time, which means we grab both shields from the opponent and we still flip switch advantage, huge from the Goldengo. At this point, happy to let it go down. The opponent goes for a Moonblast there, very unnecessary, very much overkill. It would have made a lot more sense to just go for a Trailblaze and boost up their attack, because now they go for Trailblaze. So yeah, I really don't understand that play at all, but they swap into their own Goldengo. They are on Astonish, but it doesn't really matter. We can go straight for the Outrage here. Outrage is resisted damage, but once again, it does huge damage, and it actually allows us to get a simultaneous KO. That is best case scenario for us. We can now just commit to these Mirror Shots here. Mirror Shot, again, not going to do much damage. It is super effective, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We can now full send the Wild Charge, and of course, a Wild Charge from this range takes out the Florages, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.